Hello Trekkies and welcome back with another video of TREKKERPRISE. Today we're going to talk about another Star Trek Discovery episode from Season 2, that's episode 4, and Obol for Charon. Or I hope I'm pronouncing it right. This episode was absolutely fantastic. Compared to the previous one, tackling on one point of light, well, if you watched my episode reaction, you know how I felt about that episode. There's a lot of things happening in this episode, and I will break down every little aspect of it, but obviously we could talk an hour about this episode because there's just so many things, so many aspects to it to actually discuss and discover. But let's start with the basics. First thing first, we go to see Rebecca Romyan coming aboard to the Discovery as number 1 from the Enterprise. Well, I'm sure I wasn't the only one who was actually waiting for a name from number 1. We didn't really get to know number 1's name in the cage in the pilot episode of Star Trek. Obviously she disappeared when Captain Kirk took over the Enterprise, and we didn't really get to know her name in this Discovery so far. Although I really hope that they're going to give her a name and finally we're gonna call her how she been called ever since she was born, not just number 1. She's absolutely amazing, and I know I shouldn't really compare to her portrayal of number 1 to Major Barrett's number 1 because that's obviously two different era, two different actors, but she nailed that part, what she was in this episode so far really well, and she reminded me of number 1 from the cage, and I really just hope we're gonna get a name for her. This episode follows up the basic principles of this season, following the Rat's birds and the search for Spock. Suddenly the Discovery jumps out of warp and we got to see this massive entity in the space. So Discovery jumps out of warp, got a virus, and the most hilarious thing happened in the Star Trek history ever since the Universal Translator broke down. So everyone was talking different languages, it was all mixed up, and who came to the rescue? Lieutenant Saru.
Am I the only one who bothered to learn a foreign language?
That scene itself was something that we never seen in Star Trek, and it got me so excited, like, oh my god, this is actually super amazing. Like, sometimes you forget like how easily you cannot really talk to other people if you don't know their language, and it's so easy to have the Universal Translator, or these days have Google Translator, and then it translates everything that you say to the other people, and then you can understand, you can communicate with technology. But if the technology got messed up, you're kind of, yeah, you know what I mean. So that was a really sweet scene that we seen in this episode, and obviously the bridge crew was kind of working on to solve the situation why the sphere is basically attacking them with some virus, until the time when actually being able to communicate with the sphere, and they find out the sphere really just dying, and he just wanted to make a last contact with someone to tell his story. It just, the whole notion of the episode was just full of Star Trek. Obviously we have a couple of other incidents in the ship. First thing first, we have Saru and his struggle. He's kind of sick at the beginning, and we're gonna see him eating so much salt. At first I thought he's gonna turn into the salt creature. So we got to see his struggle, his passing, his dying in this episode, that basically the sphere triggered into himself, and as it turned out this is the kind of a Canamar thing. Every Canamar goes to the point when, you know, that ganglia just comes out, and it's like, you know, you can't do anything with it, you basically die. We got to see Saru's struggle, and it was a really emotional scene when Michael actually brought him back to his cabin, and we got to see this flower that Saru's sister gave him, and we got to see this bonding between the two characters, which was really nice, and it was really interesting and really good to see that the two characters really just like they're family to each other. They're not really just colleagues, they're family, despite the fact what happened in season 1, and Saru was a kind of you know, pushing himself away from Burnham. Even though he did that, he always gonna be his foster brother. Aside Saru and a star, we had Tilly as well, who got this creature out of her biosystem in the previous 2 episodes. So things happen with the ship, the blob escapes and captures Tilly again, and Tilly basically get abducted by this blob. As it turned out, the blob can communicate. In the engine room we got a few scenes that I wasn't really comfortable watching, like drilling a hole to poor Tilly's head. I think the last time when I seen someone drilling a hole to someone's head, it was in Star Trek First Contact when Data got a hole in his head. That wasn't nice either. Although I still don't really get why didn't they strap her head down, because, you know, it's a very delicate procedure, and if you go a bit further, you might gonna kill her. So yeah, I don't understand why didn't they just strap her. So Stamets and Reno go to talk to this creature, and they find out that, hey, actually with your jumps you're damaging our ecosystem, which is not really nice. So maybe that's gonna be the explanation how the spore drive got actually scrapped from Starfleet, and now why we don't see any spore drives in the future. Although, who knows, maybe the Picard series is gonna bring it back to us for whatever reason, they find a safe way to travel with the sport drive without damaging the ecosystem. So they had a little talk with the creature, and I do have to point out I love very wise man, but the voice dub wasn't really good, wasn't really synchronized all the time, so I was kind of disappointed of that and seeing that, because in previous Star Trek shows, when something similar happened, that someone got abducted and came up with a different voice, usually they made sure that, you know, everything is matches. In this case, this didn't really feel right for me. Obviously, this conversation didn't really help, and Tilly got cocooned by this creature, and not just cocooned, but actually she got transported somewhere else. And I can't help but when I seen they cutting up this creature and Tilly disappeared, it reminded me of Stranger Things, because that's mainly how people disappear to the Upside Down, and basically we're going to go into the mycelial network, so there's a little bit of a Stranger Things going on there. The episode itself was really interesting and really cool. First time, or the second time when I can say about Star Trek Discovery, and it feels like it's getting to the point when we're gonna sit down together and we watch a Star Trek episode, and it's fresh, it's new, it's not as disgusting as it was, and not as disturbing as it was previously in season 1. I really had good time with this episode. I really had good time with New Eden. I didn't really have good time so far with Point of Light and Brothers, but you know, everyone is different. A couple of Easter eggs and fun remarks from this episode. First thing first, the pad that they showed in the beginning of this episode. Number 1 gave this pad to Captain Pike, and it was really familiar with the one that we've seen in the original series. It's really interesting to see that, like a bit of a redesign there as well, but it's really interesting to see that coming back into Star Trek Discovery. So yes, overall I really enjoyed this episode. There was really good character moments, and there were really good, the story itself, it was really felt like the crew works together and they trying to solve the mystery, and they solve the mystery and they can go back to their original mission to search for Spock. So that was it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to let me know your thoughts about this episode, episode 4, an Obol or for Charon, in the comment section below. I'm really looking forward to have a discussion with you guys in this about this episode. And obviously, as always, don't forget to like and share the video, and don't forget to subscribe to receive all the geekiness every week. And until next time, live long and prosper.